So today we're going to be unboxing some new wheels that I got for my RZR. They are the System 3 Off-Road. I got them in gray. They're the SB5s, 10 by 15 in the back and 7 by 15 in the front. And if we get motivated, Vince and I are going to mount up these paddles. I'm going to let Wreck-It Vince do the unboxing since he's the best at breaking stuff.
Well, we're here today with Papa Wheelie World. We're gonna unbox these System 3 off-road wheels and see what they look like, see how the packaging comes, and like he said, possibly get these mounted up. We're also going to get some weight on them, see how much these suckers weigh.
Seems like that's one of the hardest things to do is get weights on wheels. When you look them up, not many manufacturers have that on their website.
So under first appearance, very well wrapped. And it looks like it has a nice little plastic rim protector. And there they are, unboxed. Looks like it's got 2 bolts holding the beadlock ring on, so that doesn't wobble around in there. It's got a good finish, very well protected, and we'll get it out here and see how much this weighs. Set the beadlock bolts up there on top, so we're looking at 19.5 pounds for a rear 10-inch wide System 3 wheel.
Let's do a front. Looks like the mailman wanted to see what was inside too.
Again, nice cover, nice little plastic ring bead protector here.
So looks very nice.
These are the 7 wide wheels that we are going to wait for that to turn off. $17.4 pounds.
A couple pounds different. That's gonna look nice. I am getting some things done to mine. Our buddy Adam is gonna paint my doors the titanium of the RZR, so it should match the gray on these wheels really nice. Looks really good. I like them.
Looks like the center caps are held in with a couple fake Allen bolts. And that is the one nice thing about System 3 is they do come with center caps, which a lot of the higher quality wheel manufacturers don't provide center caps for their wheels. So that is a nice thing to have, is a center cap, so you don't have to look at a old rusty hub and
ugly rusty nut. Yeah, I was gonna say that same thing too. With those KMC wheels that I had, I loved the wheels, but hated not having a center cap. So I've always been more of a STU guy. On my RZR currently I have the 28-inch STUs in the rear and then the 29 ones with the paddles up front. Anyway, Vince is gonna let me try these Skat Trak Extremes and then the Tusk Sand Lites. I really see why he wants to sell them to me. Look at that sneaky guy smashing trees with it. Trying to sell these worn out tires to me. Oh, here he comes back to the mounting the tires. What's up, Vince?
Talking about how great these tires are?
Yeah.
They were owned by an old man who just barely drove them on the sand, honestly.
Always garage.
Always garage. I mean, they barely saw any life or pavement or anything like that. So that's always a positive thing.
Right, well, here we go. We got our bolts lubed up with some anti-seize. Vince is gonna slam these tires on and I will help him if need be.
So what we're running here is a Sand Lite 32 inch by 15 wheel or a tire. It is a Mohawk design. It's typically my favorite design because it gives you that little bit more of a grip and a turn than it does with like a full buff style. One thing also is when these come out of the boxes, there are 2 bolts that hold this beadlock ring down, so you got to remove those. Take the beadlock ring here and toss it off to the side. And if you've never seen a beadlock wheel before, this is what it kind of looks like. You have this raised edge compared to, or from where the tire bead sits down. So the tire bead's going to sit on the inside of this. And so basically, the easiest thing to do is set it on. It's going to take a little bit of, also a good thing is a little bit of soap and water here to help kind of seat the bead. You can give it a little squirt down here.
If you don't squirt it, you will regret it.
Just makes it slide a little bit easier. Just to help it get onto the and sometimes you might have to set it on the ground.
Sometimes they can be a pain in the neck.
So that's what we're gonna do. Obviously we do not want to mess up the wheel. So we're gonna set this down here like this. And basically just kind of use your body weight to get that bead sat down. Sometimes you gotta use a foot.
There it is.
Just like that. So now I can set this back up on the table. And
Yeah, it'd be nice if that wouldn't pop over, but sometimes
a
they
little
do.
bit too far there with the bead.
It's always worse when you're doing it for video.
Yep, always.
Without a doubt.
So now you see all that fits perfectly in there like that. One thing to do is always clean your ring on your tire. Make sure it's cleaned up, free of debris, free of sand, free of dirt, mud, whatever. Now you can basically kind of wipe down the outer edge from your soapy water. Now we're going to take the beadlock ring here and line it up with the holes. Now sometimes, depending on the tire, which it might change with those Skat tires down there, you might not get enough teeth or threads to get the bolts started. So luckily, if you can see that,
These ones actually look really
we
good.
actually have quite a bit of thread left here. So that's gonna actually make it a lot easier if it goes in smooth.
And I won't make Vince suffer through all of these, and I'll give a hand here.
So basically just screw them in hand tight for now. And you always want to use a little bit of anti-seize Now the manufacturer calls for 12 to 15 foot-pounds on these bolts for the beadlock ring.
What do they know?
After riding a good 50 or so miles, you want to come back and retorque them to make sure they're solid. So basically go hand tight with either a ratchet or a impact wrench or a ratchet wrench, and then after they're all somewhat tight, and always do a star pattern like you're doing a set of lug nuts.
All right, that one's ready for torquing. Should we put air in it and pop it on at this point?
Might as well. So we're gonna flip this guy up. We are going to give it a little juice down the bead seat area here. Spray the wheel down a little bit. And then, so this is what you're gonna look like on the inside. So the reason why I say put the bucket on there, the bucket is gonna put pressure here, so you can put pressure on the tire and push the tire on. So that's basically how we're gonna set that up here. Bucket down, wheel down. So now, see how the tire just basically almost seated itself there. And pull the valve stem cap off here. And we'll give a little air. And look at that. I didn't have to help it.
You make it look easy.
And so now, all you're waiting to hear is a couple pop pop. At which
Oh, it's getting there.
you can see it's holding air, but it hasn't popped any beads yet.
There it is.
And that's what we call a pop.
Uh-oh, did I get you? Did you jump?
A little bit. It's louder than normal.
It was really loud.
So once you pop and you can clearly see, because you'll be able to see with the soap and water, if there's air escaping, it'll create bubbles. But now you can take the towel and wipe all this stuff down. And now you're gonna have about 30 PSI in there, so you're gonna want to bleed it off and kind of set whatever type of terrain you want to run. In the sand, we kind of want to run around 10 PSI in these style of tire. So we're going to grab our air gauge here. And it's always good to have a low pressure air gauge. And probably a valve stem puller, because it'd make it go a little bit faster than doing this. We can fast forward through this part and make it real quick.
Hey, why don't you do one of those snap things? Snap to the pressure.
And in this moment, when I snap my fingers, we'll have 10 PSI. And there's 10 PSI, you know, that's how we like to do it. So now we're at 10 PSI. You can still tell that these tires are definitely have a lot of rigidity to them. And here is what the wheels look like mounted up.
Looks really good. I like it. I'm excited to put these on.
Yeah.
And it'll be cool to feel the difference between these and the STUs, and also the size-wise.
Just remember, always check your after about 50, 75 miles, check your beadlock ring bolts and make sure they're still torqued down correctly. So.
Absolutely. Oh, should we weigh that, do you think?
Yes, we should. One
Let's
second
do
here.
it.
We have a total combo weight of 39.9 pounds.
39.9.
That's a pretty light front wheel and tire there.
Awesome, thanks for doing that. Let's get on to the next one.
So these tires that we're working with right now are a Skat Trak 4-ply tire. And these are called the Extremes. They do not have a full width paddle unlike these. And it honestly depends on the type of terrain you're running, the type of riding you do. But these, you can kind of see the difference in the paddle here. These paddles are Kevlar reinforced to make the paddle a little bit stronger, a little bit better off on the sand, and if you're having to ride on pavement for any reason, which is why you see that fabric there. But you can kind of see the difference in the paddle here. This is a very same width tire, just the paddles are skinnier on this one than this. And the scoop is just a smidge taller on these ones than on these. But these are great for, you know, a level 2, level 3 car that makes, you know, a little bit overstock horsepower wise. Pump gas is great on them. And then if you want a little more hook and pull, you can go to something like this. But these tires like to slide a lot, so you get a lot more drifting action as you're going through the sand and whatnot. So, and that's what I like about the Skats. That's how I like to drive. So that's kind of the difference between the two tires there. So now we're going to go ahead and get this mounted up on the wheel. When you're doing your rear paddles, obviously they need to face a certain direction. When you're mounting your first rear wheel, it doesn't really matter which direction you put it, as long as the other side is the other direction. So I'll obviously always clean your bead, make sure it's smooth. You want to give a little juice on the bead here to help it slip on nice and easy. Sounds like the Jetsons.
That's kind
If you remember that show.
That was probably before a lot of people's time. So just a note, depending how that goes on. Anyway, on the STUs, on my hyper wheels, I had to put it on the bucket and kind of let the tires sag over the wheels so I could put the beadlock ring on. You don't have to do that with all of them, but some of them, with the stiffer sidewalls and stuff, they really want some downward pressure on the tire. All right, this wheel is going to be the same as the other one. Lube it up. Throw it on the bucket and put a little bit of downward pressure on the tire and hit it with some air. There it is.
And that's where she wrote.
Looks good. Fits that wheel nice.
It does. They're more like balloon tires, but that's the nice thing about sand is the wider the footprint, the more you sit on top and not dig. So, but now you can see how the paddle doesn't go edge to edge, but more of a ripper. So
They look goofy, but they work well.
they do. And now we're gonna lower our air pressure down to 10 PSI. So again, fast forward button to 10 PSI. 10 PSI. Here's what we have for a finished rear. Obviously the paddles are going this way, which means this is a passenger side. So
I like it. All right, now that it's mounted, we will put it on the scale and see what the final weight is.
44, dead even, 44 pounds.
44 pounds.
This is actually a good lightweight setup. Anything under 50 is pretty decent.
If you like our video, like and subscribe.